I really was not at all like Cecil B. Demented, I don't think. Certainly some of the stuff that happened, we made like filmmaking, however we could make it and everything. But certainly I always said this was, I was like Cecil if my parents hadn't loved me. I might have turned out like Cecil B. Demented. So I'm doing a joke on what I would have been like, or any young director would be like if he was completely crazy and went off the deep end and worshipped Otto Preminger and Cecil B. DeMille and all those kind of directors that were known for being kind of mean and crazy. I'm using all my experience, certainly from the old days when we would just run out and make movies and never ask permission. So I'm using also all my experiences in 60 radical riot behavior and putting that in this also.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of
bubblegum! Astro Radio Z is a horror, cult, exploitation film podcast by filmmakers, critics, musicians, journalists, and fans for the film obsessed. Here is your host, Derek Terry.
Welcome to another episode of Astro Radio Z, folks. Before we get into our movie tonight, I would like you to tell me about Mel Gibson's Dick and Balls. No, actually, I want Seth Pollen to tell me about Mel Gibson's Dick and Balls.
Mel Gibson's Dick and Balls get a solid 2 out of 10.
CelluloidTerror.com official rating. Andrew Shearer, what do you give Mel Gibson's Dick and Balls?
And how big is this penis anyway? I'm Petey. I'll be your driver.
There's nothing in here but us whackers tonight. So what I mean by the whackers is we have Angelique. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am wonderful. And the last whacker is Amanda. How you doing?
Hello. I'm fine.
Of course, all this nonsense we're talking about come from tonight's focus, which is John Waters' Cecil B. Demented.
6:46 p.m. in the name of underground cinema.
Baltimore, Maryland. All Hollywood has come east for the premiere of Some Kind of Happiness. There's Mayor Fenwick leading the procession of stars to the gala event. And now the moment everyone's been waiting for. Honey Whitlock, starlet to the stars, gorgeously dressed, makes her grand entrance.
And now for the moment you've all been waiting for.
7:02 p.m. When the word is given, we will seize the cinema.
I am Cecil B. Demented, and this is a kidnapping.
Hello, Miss Whitlock. I am Cecil B. Demented, and I'm your new director. I'd like you to meet your co-stars. I call them the sprocket holes. Don't worry, we're horny. But our film comes first.
We ain't got no budget, no craft service, man.
Action!
We don't take no notes, no budget. Yeah, we gotta start dating for real.
Cut!
I just am not motivated.
How's this for motivation, huh?
No budget. We don't take no notes, no budget.
Oh my God, it's Honey Whitlock! Patch Adams does not deserve a director's cut. The first one was long enough.
Honey Whitlock was always attracted to the wrong kind of man. She'd do anything for sex.
This is a go. No budget.
Cecil B. Demented, you can never stop Hollywood.
You're one of us now. You know what to say.
You stink, Honey Whitlock! Family is just a dirty word for censorship!
I think I speak for every member of the Academy of the Arts and Sciences when I say, Honey Whitlock, you are a disgrace to the entire Hollywood community.
Say it.
Would you please tell my fine listeners what is the plot of Cecil B. Demented?
John Waters' Cecil B. Demented is about a group of renegade underground filmmakers who kidnap a Hollywood star and force her to be in their movie.
Coming off of the heels of John Waters' Pecker. I can't say that just Pecker. I always have to say John Waters' Pecker just because it has a nice ring to it. Cecil B. Demented is the part of the last trilogy of films that he did that most people kind of consider the downward slide of John Waters. I thought, if you remember, dear listeners, that revisiting Pecker was a happy surprise. And I was kind of looking forward to revisiting Cecil B. Demented because I have not seen it since the year 2000 when it was released. And I remember back in the day when I first saw it, I was heavily into early era John Waters, like Desperate Living and Pink Flamingos and Multiple Maniacs. And Pecker didn't do much for me. And this movie did even less for me initially when I first saw it. And I know this is Amanda's first time that she's ever seen it. So I'm very interested to hear what she thinks about Cecil B. Demented. In general, do you think this feels like a John Waters movie to you at all? Or do you think this kind of feels like this could have been made by anybody else?
It doesn't feel like a John Waters film to me at all. I texted Derek about I told him when I was starting to watch it, and about 20 minutes in to it, I said to him, well, this just feels like a movie. There's nothing about it that says John Waters to me. And as the movie goes along, it slowly picks up steam in terms of John Waters' character and quirkiness and stuff like that, and how everything's just kind of a little bit bigger than life. But overall, it's so underwhelmingly John Waters.
What do you mean underwhelmingly John Waters? Are you
it's John Waters, and it's so watered down.
Okay.
It's just underwhelming. Ugh.
Even though this feels like it's closer in spirit to a lot of the earlier movies, just like it has a very punk edge to it. It feels like it's very chaotic. Like there's a lot of yelling at the screen, a lot of proclamations, a lot of weird characters doing drugs, and a lot of ties to John Waters' personal earlier career and his life and stuff. You still feel like this is totally watered down stuff.
Yeah. To me, it's got a punk edge to it because there's punk music on the soundtrack. And that's so disappointing.
Oh, very interesting. Angelique, what do you think about Cecil B. Demented in general? Do you have the same feeling?
It's not one of my faves. I highly dislike Melanie Griffith. So it was hard for me to enjoy this when it first came out anyway. But I agree. It doesn't really feel like a John Waters film very much.
And this opinion hasn't changed over the years upon rewatching this for the show?
Not really, no. Like there's some funny moments and some moments that are like, okay, yeah, it's tolerable. But overall, I've watched it not very many times, but it's not one that I'll ever feel like sit down and watching for real.
Yeah, no, I would never. I will not revisit this movie.
It's unfortunate because this is what I came away with is that I think, because I've watched this a few times this week, amping up, I think this is a movie that genuinely warrants multiple views for it to open up. Because I think its style is so in your face that it's easy to get sideswiped by how on the nose a lot of it is. And, it feels very much of its era, the 2000s. It feels like the latter era of the 90s with the music. It almost feels like that gutter punk type stuff, but there's also death metal and grindcore in there and a bunch of other stuff that it makes it feel firmly of that era. And a lot of that stuff from that era was really on the nose. And I think it's easy to kind of think that, or have the feeling walking away watching it at first going, oh, this is kind of rubbing me the wrong way. But you're not at least to me, upon watching it again, that's exactly what he's wanting you to think. I have a feeling he's doing something that I just got, thankfully, from Mr. Seth Powell, and he sent as a care gift, John Waters' new book, Make Trouble, which is, if you haven't gotten it, listeners, yet, you should go out and get it. It's an amazing book. You won't have it with his signature in it like I do, so I'm just going to make you jealous because mine has a signature in it. Mr. Seth was kind enough to get that for me. But it's a commencement speech he gave to the Rhode Island School of Design, and there were a few pages in it where he said some things that really rang true to me about this movie. And I think when you put it in context about the kind of the message of how Hollywood cinema is co-opting the underground and using what used to sell for independent filmmakers and turning it into homogenized garbage. When you start listening to what John Waters has to say outside of Cecil B. Demented, you kind of understand what he's going for in this. And there's one line where he says, you need to prepare sneak attacks on society. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a main point in Cecil B. Demented is that the only way they were able to go out and get genuine reactions for their movie were to go out with guns and jump in the mix, kind of like Sacha Baron Cohen would do with like Borat and Bruno and stuff like that. And that's kind of some of what the crew that Cecil B. Demented had, his crew of miscreants that were making this movie, what they were doing. But the main point, I think, is John Waters, he doesn't like to settle on his laurels and be comfortable with what he's making at any point. And that also means to himself. And there's a couple pages in Make Trouble that literally just say, make me nervous. And I think this is a movie, and I'll get to Seth and Andrew in a minute. This is a movie that I think kind of goes outside of John Waters' comfort zone a little bit. And I think it's a very youthful movie for a man at that point who was in his 50s. You have grindcore music, you have a very youthful cast, all doing pretty crazy stuff. So I think this is just a movie you need to kind of watch a few times to get a lot out of it. And I think John Waters himself made it to kind of get back to that kind of fuck you spirit. And the more I watched it, the more I appreciate this movie. Seth, how do you feel about Cecil B. Demented?
I think I said it with Pecker. I think it's going to be a grower, not a shower. I didn't love Cecil B. Demented. It, like you said, it felt very much of its time period, and that did rub me the wrong way. Maybe because I'm watching it for the first time 17 years after it was first released, but it just felt like John Waters by way of MTV2.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Which, I was disappointed by. I mean, it had the John Waters touches in there, but it all just felt really contrived and kind of half-assed John Waters to me.
I know this is completely not the opinion of Mr. Andrew Shearer, and that's why I left Andrew to last, because I kind of wanted to hear, I kind of figured that this would be the consensus of the majority of us. And because it very much is a different kind of John Waters experience than what we have grown accustomed to. And I think going into this movie from watching all of the previous films, I had a feeling this was going to be the most divisive one. It always has been with me. But I do know that Mr. Andrew Shearer dearly loves this movie. So, Andrew, would you like to say a little bit about what you think about Cecil B. Demented?
Yeah. Well, I remember when I first saw it, when it came out, I was just very happy that that John Waters was kind of back to, doing the kind of, a movie in the kind of the spirit of the old ones, and in particular, I thought that, he was kind of really like fucking with his own audience at that point, like his own, like the John Waters purist. This is a movie that makes fun of, film snubs and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty great to do that, especially since he had been lampooning like the art snobs in the first one. And then, he'd been for a while just kind of skewering polite society or whoever else, and so he really flipped it over on this one. But coming back to it, my jaw was almost on the floor at how predictive it was of everything and how relevant it is now, more so even than when it was made, because since not only have you had Borat and all that, but you've got YouTube now also. And stuff like that. And you just go like, well, man, now everybody, so many people are making their movies, and there is a lot of anti-Hollywood type bullshit out there. And God, Honey Whitlock has a great line where she defends the Hollywood system, and it's like it really makes a lot of sense, because as an underground filmmaker myself, I have a lot of people ask me, do I hate Hollywood? I've had it asked a lot of times. I even had someone try to get me to join their I'm Done With You Hollywood campaign a couple of years ago. I don't remember who started that. It was a filmmaker that did that. I'm like, I would never do that. I don't hate Hollywood. I don't even hate Melanie Griffith. I like her voice quite a bit, especially when she's screaming obscenities, you know?
Yeah. I thought, I unlike you, Angelique, I actually liked Melanie Griffith in this film. I thought this was another instance of like Kathleen Turner was in Serial Mom, where you got this high profile actress to just be as obscene as she possibly could.
Which is for the
majority.
A white fucking limousine, like not a white limousine, a white fucking. I love it. I think the lines from this movie so often, dude, especially, and you guys probably won't be surprised about this one. Let's make a motherfucking movie. I say it all the time.
So Angelique has a problem with Melanie Griffith. Did anyone else have any problems with any of the acting in this film? Was that something that bothered you at all, Amanda?
No, not at all.
You actually liked all of the actors that were in this? Because a lot of the actors in this movie would go on to become actually very well known.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Let me take it back. And I think it was, I think what it was probably just, I think it was a really forced over the top, but I'm sure that's what they were going for. Amanda Bynes' portrayal of the Satanist. I found that character to be obnoxious, but it wasn't necessarily the acting. It was just that character, I think, that I found to be obnoxious. It's like, okay, I get it. You're into Satan.
Well, could it be that because now looking back on this film is now 17 years old, and we know who these actors are, seeing them at such a young age playing these really over-the-top characters? Because remember, at this time, those people weren't necessarily huge actors by any means. Like the guy from Entourage who plays the Herschel Gordon Lewis loving drug addict. Mm-hmm. He wasn't known for anything at that point.
Well, but his character didn't bother me.
But did you go into it kind of having baggage with these actors?
Because I didn't know I didn't even realize Amanda Bynes was in the movie. After a senior.
She's not in the movie. That's Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. Excuse me. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, pardon me. That's what I meant to say. The excuse me, Maggie Gyllenhaal character, I just found to be kind of obnoxious.
Did anybody else kind of, now looking back on this, go in with any preconceived baggage with the actors? Because this, like Andrew had said, and like I had said, this is kind of a throwback to that old style and old spirit of the early era John Waters with the acting. But now we have nothing but really with names as actors. Did any of this bother you with these kind of actors trying to play this super camp at all?
No.
Nope.
No, I'd forgotten how many of these people were in it, actually. You know, I don't think the last time I watched this one all the way through, I don't think Michael Shannon had really been a thing yet. And so it was cool to see him in particular billed as Mike Shannon. He kind of underplayed everything because he was a little reminiscent of Crackers, right?
Mm-hmm. Big time.
And so I remember watching it originally thinking, well, actually, dude, and we don't have to talk about this now, but I remember watching it originally thinking that this is kind of a little the closest he'll probably get to make a movie about him and his buddies, what they did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And of course, again, as we talked about with Pecker, John Waters is out there saying that this has nothing to do with his life whatsoever, and that this is not how it was making the movies. But it is impossible to watch Cecil B. Demented and not think of how John Waters used to make movies, about how he would basically hijack scenes, run into public. Mm-hmm. I mean, the most famous scene in Pink Flamingos, other than the dog shit eating, is Divine walking down the boulevard with real genuine people gawking at her. And that is kind of like a lot of what goes on in this movie, is that all the people that are in Cecil B. Demented's crew of miscreants that are out making a Raving Beauty. Raving Beauty is the movie that they're making, that they only shoot master shots because there's only one take, and that's the only truth.
Yeah.
Only truth. They all jump into a van and drive out into the city and just throw themselves at people and film it.
In shock value, he describes the Dreamlanders as cinematic terrorists.
Right.
He uses that particular term. I mean, I don't think it gets any more plain really about what he's doing here. I mean, it's partially the Patty Hearst story, and partially, I guess it could be argued, part of like what they did with Liz Renee, how, you know, when she first saw her costume, she cried and what, but you know, that does happen to a lot, but she was she was the name that they had there in Desperate Living. And I was thinking so many things about it. I felt like Cecil was kind of like David Lochary instead of John Waters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's impossible to watch this movie and not think of the parallels with his life. I mean, even more so, I thought, than Pecker was. I thought this was so much a story about the Dreamlanders and how they were anti everything that was establishment. Did you kind of feel that way, Andrew?
Yeah, I couldn't not. I mean, it was lovely. And that has everything to do with now having watched these in order. And every time we do this, because I've seen them in order, that my take on the movie is always just so different from the first time. And it's not that I like it better or worse, because if I was going to criticize Cecil B. Demented as a film, I would say it really has no story. I don't like the music, but it is so autobiographical. It's so cool the way that's done. And the real Patricia Hearst is making fun of herself in it. I mean, to me, it's pretty incredible. I don't think it's shitty. I think it's as close, like I said, to autobiographical as he'll probably ever get with his stuff.
Yeah. In speaking of Patricia Hearst, the quote unquote story of the movie, this is very light on plot. It's mostly hijinks, is loosely based around Patricia Hearst's story of being kidnapped and then coming out the other end being a sympathizer with her kidnappers. So that's kind of the story of what's going on here with Melanie Griffith getting kidnapped by Stephen Dorff, who plays Cecil B. Demented. Now, I always had with this movie was Stephen Dorff.
Oh, see, and I liked him. He was my favorite.
He was your favorite.
Yeah.
See, my thing is, I always felt that Stephen Dorff didn't go far enough. Like, it felt like he was holding back. There are certain scenes in which he is wonderfully manic, like the scene where they invade the sequel to Forrest Gump that's being filmed, Gump Again, and he takes over the director of photography, stuns him, and then licks the film cartridge, and then has this look on his face.
Well, he's cursing it. He's cursing the camera.
It is. That is literally one of my favorite shots of this entire film because his eyes are insane.
You know, my favorite is of his eyes is when they're in the theater and the porn theater, and a dude stands up and says, "Cecil B. Demented, a friend to pornography," and he just pumps his fist and gives this guy like this most sincere fucking look.
Yeah, I love that shot. That's also one of my favorite shots. We just watched it a few minutes ago, and as soon as that came up, I looked at Amanda, and we both kind of smiled. That's a great shot. But there's just, in the beginning of the film, maybe it just is the overall tone, because it is so in your face, late 90s, early 2000s, that it's just so earnest and so like on the nose with a lot of what it's doing style wise, that Stephen Dorff's character doesn't hit for me until like almost the halfway point of this movie. He just feels a little too reserved and on the nose. And I love all the rest of the characters in this movie, but there's something about him as an actor in this movie that just has never hit me. Seth, who's probably your favorite character? Seeing how we always talk about our favorite characters with these John Waters movies, because essentially all of these movies have some of the best characters we've ever seen in film. Seth, who is your favorite character in Cecil B. Demented, if there is one?
I really like Chardonnay, the sound girl, who has a boom mic taped to a shotgun. And just wants to cut a rap album with the other guy, and just goes apeshit yelling her lines whenever she gets a chance to. blasting people with the shotgun. She doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, but I think she's exactly the amount of over the top crazy that this movie was looking for.
Yeah, wild sound.
Screams that out before she.
The scene where she shoots the shotgun, but still has her headphones on. The mic picks it up. That cracked me up. Just
fuck.
Yeah, just something little like that. It was hilarious.
She never did another movie. This was her only film. Zenzel something. Fuck, I can't remember her name.
I think she was local.
Oh man, dude, find her.
I'll do my best. If she's still in the area, she can't be that hard to find.
Oh, I'd like to get my picture with it because her and Lewis, that's Lawrence Gilliard. He was in Straight Outta Brooklyn, Matty Rich's first movie. Speaking of people that nothing happened to, Matty Rich. I don't know if you guys remember Spike Lee and Matty Rich and like John Singleton, like all those guys were in the early 90s supposed to be. You know what I'm saying, like the next big or whatever. Matty Rich is the only one. He did like the Inkwell, which is an awesome movie too, and then like nothing. But that guy that plays Lewis, he does a lot of TV. He's still.
Yeah, he does. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. He was hot for a while.
Yeah, but Chardonnay, man, I'm with you there.
Yeah, she's a good one. Andrew, who's probably your favorite character?
Got to be Cherish, Alicia Witt, and obviously supposed to be Tracy Lords. You know. Yep. I was a porn actor. Now I'm in underground cinema or whatever. I liked Alicia Witt a lot, and at the time, she'd been in this movie 4 Rooms. I remember that one.
Oh yeah.
So the one segment where they're all witches and stuff, she wore the tape on nipples. She just reminds me of a few friends that I have. She's just really great. But I love that she's a fake porn actor. Again, man, that scene where they're in the porno theater, there's so many classic things that happen. But when she hears the dudes in the theater reacting to her performance, she gets like choked up. She's starting to like feel like she's getting an award or something. She's feeling,
when she walks into that porno shop and that dude that's running the counter literally goes, "Oh, I beat off to you last night."
He brings a mold of her ass for her to sign or whatever. Like to sniffles, 1 effort 2.
Yeah, to sniffles. Yeah.
It's just for an actor to be asked to do something like that. That's, for a movie, a John Waters movie, and for a movie like this, I'd have to say to approach a professional actor, a name actor, to be a porno actor and to do, they had to have filmed, what was it called? Rear Entry?
Yes. And all anal night with Cherish.
Yeah, and the gerbil scene to just imagine handing that script out, Maggie Gyllenhaal probably would have done it.
Oh man, let me tell you, we'll revisit this concept next movie when we do A Dirty Shame with Tracy Ullman. Some of the things that are asked of her to do as well. But yeah, I have to say, I agree with you wholeheartedly. She's my favorite character in this film as well. And that porno scene, the porno theater scene, is so classic John Waters. They walk in because they just got heckled and shot at. and they run into this place because the Teamsters are trying to get after them for taking over and for shooting up a Gump Again starring Kevin Nealon.
That was great.
And the scene is literally they walk into this porno theater and the entire porno theater is nothing but dudes jerking off,
and they sound like zombies.
That's illegal.
Yes. Jerking zombies.
Yeah, they're all.
Every time she says something on screen, they all go, "Ooh." It's one of my favorite. That literally has to be one of my favorite John Waters scenes. I love it. It is so fucking funny, and it's. I think unfortunately those kind of scenes are just too far or too in between. In this movie, because I think John Waters is he's trying to say a little bit more than just straight up comedy in this movie. It feels like a very pointed and directed message that he's trying to state with this, even though it's chaotic and kind of in your face. It just felt like comedy wasn't at the forefront of this film. But Angelique, who is your favorite character in this flick?
Raven, the Satanist makeup girl.
Yes.
Let's have an all-out war here. Go ahead, Amanda.
No,
okay.
No, just when she's bleaching out Honey's hair, shut up, and just going for it. I love it.
I thought it was really funny when they were bleaching her hair and Melanie Griffith's like, ow, oh, it's burning my scalp. Please stop.
She's like, fuck it. I ripped off that character. I kind of basically wrote her into one of my old movies, Psycho Vixens. There's a girl that's like the witness or whatever, and but she's a Satanist. So I very much copied Raven in one of my other movies.
Yeah, well, and the character who is the hairstylist who's constantly bleaching her hair, he has another classic John Waters scene where Melanie Griffith says, but you're gay. Gay men aren't as this aggro. Why are you so angry? I'm not gay. I'm heterosexual, and I'm ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Another.
I can't take the thickness or whatever the hell.
Yeah, no. When I try to kiss him, but all I feel is stubble.
Yeah,
and a certain uncomfortable thickness in his pants.
It's just like out of Female Trouble, right?
Absolutely out of Female Trouble.
It's great.
So this is I'm going to keep saying this. I think Cecil B. Demented has so many instances where it is calling back to early era John Waters. And I think because of the style of it, it kind of gets lost. And the more you watch it, the more it opens itself up to you. It's not as immediately funny, but it definitely has stuff because we're watching these in order like this. And because all this stuff is so fresh in our brain, it's hard not to see all these callbacks and throwbacks and ties to not only his life, but his previous movies. Now, Amanda, we didn't go to you. Who is your favorite character?
Cecil.
It was Cecil?
Mm-hmm. I think what was funny about it is that I appreciated how committed he was to his mission. And he was just like you said, not manic, but just, I don't know how to phrase it. There was just a couple of scenes where it was just, okay, this sells it for me. And it's just really funny that he's like the leader and he refers to himself as the prophet. And
I'm a true auteur.
Yeah. And that just cracked me up. Like I said, just his commitment to his vision. And I felt like his character felt very natural.
Right.
Felt very blended with what was going on.
Cool. So let's go ahead and move on to now the overall statement of the film, which is anti-Hollywoodism and how underground cinema is better than Hollywood cinema in some way, and cinema snobbery and cinema elitism and blah, 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 blah. Andrew, do you feel this is this message is a little heavy-handed in this flick, or how do you feel it was handled?
I mean, back then maybe, but not now, you know? I mean, the cinema purists really don't have a sense of humor about themselves. I mean, they might have then, but they don't now. And I think it's fantastic to see him. Back then it was supposed to be some like extreme point of view or whatever, and how they have the names of their favorite directors tattooed on themselves, and I actually, when I first saw it, I hadn't heard of some of those people, and I looked them up and watched some of their movies just because like John Waters, put them in the same league with Herschel Gordon Lewis and was it like Sam Peckinpah, Almodovar, but I had never seen anything by Fassbender. And you better believe, man, I got into some Fassbender after that. And I really, so that was cool. But I think is one of the things that's very relevant now is the fact that motherfuckers are just really like that. All the extreme points of view, particularly on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at that time, some of what Cecil B. Demented's point of view, the extremism in his anti-style like vision of what he wanted to make as a film kind of threw back to like Lars von Trier when he's trying to spearhead that whole Dogma 95.
Yeah, he says style is nothing but failed technique, I think is one of his
correct. So there it's that same kind of thing where it's just like we're trying to find truth in cinema by not modeling ourselves after anything that's come before. And while there is some, I think, some purity to that, some like you can create some exciting things. You also are extremely limiting yourself. And sometimes some of that stuff is it is art for the sake of art. And it's hard to get anything out of that kind of stuff. Like Dogma 95, most of those movies were, let's be honest, they were garbage.
Well, a lot of it's just a jack off, and he's showing it as a jack off,
I wanted to see this movie they were making. Really bad. Like the whole time you get glimpses of this movie they're making, and you know how strongly willed he is, and all these ridiculously hypocritical stances on filmmaking that he has at any given point during the movie. I always want to be like, okay, well, you're talking a big game. When can I finally see this movie? I want to see this movie.
That's the way people are now, aren't they? That shit would have been if Cecil was a guy now, and such as you say, fart smeller. You've said that to me in conversation before about people like
absolutely.
That. He would have ended up, I bet you, if the short was ever done. And John on the commentary speculated as to what happened to the film was that they Chardonnay and Lewis got away with it and used the footage as a music video. That's probably the amount of usable shit that they shot for it.
Absolutely.
2.5 minutes. But if he was now, he'd cut it in, he'd use all of it, for make a 2-hour thing out of it somehow.
Yeah, if he was still alive, if Cecil was still alive, it would be a total fart sniffing marathon.
No, it would still be in editing since 2000. It wouldn't be
editing since 2000. I actually, when I was watching this, I thought to myself, I wonder if anybody, or if there's like a special feature anywhere that puts together any even attempt at a film of this.
Does he ever show?
Like if they would have taken any, because there's a couple of scenes where, like there's one scene in the movie where Melanie Griffith is walking with a drink in her hand, and in the background she kind of glances up and looks at a projector of the scene where she's jumping off the roof.
Right.
And then there's there's another scene where it so there's little bits and pieces of what should be the edited film, and I always wonder.
No, it's just dailies. They're just watching the dailies.
Oh well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I guess I don't know the terminology. I suppose.
Yeah, that's the film that they shot that day that they're watching.
Yeah, so I wondered if anybody ever, or if John Waters would have considered maybe putting those bits and pieces together and creating a mini film of it as a special feature or something.
No,
that would
did they do that?
I like what Andrew said.
Didn't they do it?
What's that?
Didn't they do some of that with Boogie Nights? Some of those little films that they show in Boogie Nights that they were shooting.
Oh.
Don't they have? Aren't there cuts of those on the DVD? I can't remember.
I don't remember either. But yeah, I kind of like that idea that they absconded with the footage at the end, and they're all like, "Yeah, we made this movie," and then they just walk away. And because the one dude, he didn't care about making the movie, he just wanted a rap career.
Yes.
Yeah.
The entire time. So I kind of like that idea.
I almost died when the drug addict got shot in the head, and as he's dying, he's like, "Give me some poppers."
I loved him. He's great.
Give me some poppers. Ooh.
And it wasn't just the fact that he liked to huff gasoline and tattooed Herschel and hump film projectors, and
his great line was, "Before I became a drug addict, I had so many problems. Now I only have one."
No, I only have one. I laughed out. I literally lulled at that.
Yeah.
I LOL'd.
Yeah. My life now has so much more focus.
Yes, he's looking at like a joint or a crack pipe when he says it.
Yeah, crack pipe.
My favorite part of him is when they're at the Maryland Film Commission conference where they're trying to court Hollywood into coming and filming there. They're the Hollywood of the East.
Do they really do that kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. All the time. You know, tax incentives and things like this to get Hollywood to come and film in your area. Yeah, every state tries and do it. I mean, Wisconsin did that, and that's how we got what's his nuts De Palma to come and film Public Enemies here. So every state does it.
I was just aware.
But there's that scene where the firefight starts after Melanie Griffith jumps off of the roof, and then his character is running in place. He's like, "Hey, Cecil B, I'm stuck in a K-hole."
I'm stuck in a K-hole. I'll tell you, from a medical standpoint, that's not really what a K-hole looks like.
I didn't care, man. That was funny. Oh God, that shit killed me.
People are wild fucking animals when they're coming out of a K-hole.
I think the point was no one even had heard of it at that time, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm stuck in a K-hole.
Yeah, the first mention of a K-hole ever in cinema history.
Oh man, there's so much in this movie that once you get into it, there's a lot to laugh at.
I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. I laughed through it. There was some funny parts in it, but in terms of a John Waters film, it's certainly my least favorite.
Oh, okay.
It's even taking into consideration some of the really, really early stuff that I was kind of initially very turned off by. I would rewatch those before I would rewatch this.
Whoa, interesting. Because there was even those kind of shied away.
Those feel like John Waters films to me compared to this.
In what way?
They're grungy and they're rough and they're slap you around and make you nervous.
kind of sounds like Cecil B. Demented to me.
Well, but this also is kind of goofy.
This is a Hollywood version of that, and that's what's off-putting to me about it.
Okay.
It still is kind of goofy the way that all his later stuff is. You know, he just once he went goofy after Hairspray, he never went back. They're all goofy.
Right.
You know,
I really think the big disconnect, and I'd like to hear Seth and Angelique speak to this, is the style, is the visual and audio style of this movie. And because it's so of its era, I think that's what creates the big disconnect, because I think the characters are all very John Waters. I think the plot is very John Waters. What happens in the movie is very John, like everything about it other than the style. And I think this, I thought of this today when I was rewatching it again. Like I said, I've watched it a bunch of times this week, and it reminded me of when George Romero came out with Land of the Dead. Land of the Dead felt like a Hollywood movie and didn't feel like a George Romero movie.
And that's what it is. This movie is too smooth for me for what I know John Waters to be. It feels too smooth for me. It's like John Waters gave Hollywood a script and said, this is what I want to do. It is to be fucking awesome. And they're like, all right, we're going to pull out all of the peaks and troughs of your movie and just pull it to the middle. That's what I think I don't care for about it. It's too smooth.
Angelique?
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's not gritty at all. It's too pretty, I guess, for the subject matter. Like, you know, I would almost want it to be like a found footage kind of deal, you know? Like
I think if it was made today, it probably would be like that.
Yeah, I think that would, you know, help my enjoyment factor of it a little bit. And, you know, he did the whole introduction of the characters thing of, you know, when they're showing their tattoos and stuff. You know, I'm like, what? We know the characters' names. We know what's up. Just continue on with the story. Give me more story.
That was long. That felt long to me too.
What's funny is he did the same thing in Dirty Shame. So I'm just like, yeah, you know, it's just it felt very just squeaky, I guess. Just like, boop, here it is.
It's the style.
Yeah.
It's the style, the presentation of it. Seth, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I think had I seen it in 2000, maybe the time, you know, it would have felt more organic, but it all just felt like a shopping mall version of John Waters. The whole thing just, it's there, but it's kind of like that fake, edgy, you know, a false edge to it. The music, you could tell he had someone go out and pick some bands that were, you know, I mean, The Locust pops up, and I just don't really expect to hear The Locust pop up in a John Waters movie. even, you know, I mean, the scene's crazy. It's the kidnapping, and we're throwing Molotov cocktails into a, you know, movie theater. But I don't know. It just all felt a little forced, and it's not that I didn't like it. I thought it was funny, and it had its, you know, a lot of good, genuine John Waters moments. But it comes off as forced and not disingenuine, just out of touch.
It's the hot topic of the John Waters.
It's okay. Let's all be very honest. It's the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's so off-putting.
You could tell it wasn't John Waters going in and saying, okay, I want this song to be this playing when Divine walks down the street. I want this song to do this song to do that. You nailed it.
It's the hot topic of the John Waters film catalog.
To that, before I even started the movie, on the DVD menu, it's this, like, you know, industrial hard rock, and I just went, what am I about to watch? Like, it didn't, even before I hit play on the DVD, it didn't feel like a John Waters movie was about to grace my screen.
Except for the very end, the end of the movie, where Melanie Griffith is getting ushered off to the paddy wagon.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect ending to the film. And that song is so amazing. That's pure John Waters. And the rest of the soundtrack, very off-putting. Andrew, would this be the Achilles heel if there's anything of Cecil B. Demented as the soundtrack?
Well, other than it not having a story, yes. The songs I dislike the most are the ones that John Waters wrote the lyrics to. These hip-hop songs that have all these movie lingo in it. You want to talk about the scene where they're showing their tattoos taking too long. The musical scenes where clearly it's like, hey, listen to these lyrics about this. That to me, that seemed very out of touch. And that is the thing about the movie that actually, to me, I don't like is, not just the fact that, like you said, the music is clearly not picked by him, but those songs were written by him and they were not good. So,
It's the Demented Forever song. Yeah,
that song is terrible and
it's cringy.
But because they didn't have anywhere to go after Honey Whitlock sides with them, the movie is over. You're just left to see, like, do they survive? Are they captured, killed, or what happened to his film? If she had made like escape attempts, things like that, if they'd taken longer for Honey to come around and to become either Stockholmed or whatever, by seeing their side of it, I think the film would have benefited from ripping off either King of Comedy or the actual Patty Hearst story more than it already did.
Right. Which both of those listeners, if you're not familiar, King of Comedy, I believe it's a Scorsese film, right?
Yeah. That's the one with De Niro and Jerry Lewis. It's a pretty good story, and it's similarly, you have somebody just obsessed with the famous person or whatever. But it's this is what I mean. It was just kind of it was a little undercooked, but the film, I think the project itself was more made to do the things that you and I have both said that it does, and it does them well. But that doesn't make a good 3-act structure, I don't think.
Yeah. I agree with that completely. So is there anything before we wrap this up and go around the horn and give final thoughts? Is there anything about the movie that anybody wanted to discuss at all? Is there anything while you were watching it, Amanda, that you thought you'd like to talk about? We'll just do the around the horn quick.
I will say, I don't know why, but Melanie Griffith's outfits struck me as something like, I would want to wear this every day. I want this to be my wardrobe. I loved every fucking outfit once she got kidnapped that she was wearing. Isn't that so ridiculous? Why would that come into my mind?
So you liked the art direction in the...
Yeah, I liked the style of the... Klan. I thought that was pulled off really well. And again, I don't think that aesthetically it's a bad movie. There was a lot of parts of it that I really enjoyed. But I thought Melanie Griffith's outfits, I could see myself stomping around my house in especially the outfit she's wearing, where she's wearing like a onesie and tights, and then she has on like this weird floral cape. Oh my gosh! I want to wear that.
That's awesome. Angelique, was there anything in particular you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
Mink Stole getting beat up and the wheelchair kid just rejoicing about it.
Yes. Oh, please, let's talk about that amazing wheelchair kid scene.
That's where I started to feel John Waters in the movie. In that scene is where I first started to think, okay, now I'm starting to see John Waters, where Mink Stole comes over and shuts his oxygen off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shut up, you little fucker.
That's where you see the first feathers of John Water arrive.
Oh God, that scene is so hilarious. That little kid is such an asshole.
With a terrible haircut.
Yeah. So, Seth, was there anything you wanted to discuss we didn't talk about?
Just it was fun seeing some Baltimore locations be completely different than they are now.
I bet you watching these movies is kind of like going back in time in Baltimore, I'm guessing.
Man, it really is. Because he showed a lot of theaters in this movie. And one of the big ones is the Hippodrome, which was everything from back in the 50s, high end, get out and dress nice theater to run down blaxploitation theater. And then it closed for years and was derelict in this movie. And now it's where all the Broadway plays go when they tour. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's that one. The Porn Theater was the Apex Theater, which is in Fells Point and is now a church. I wanted to interview the owner of that one a few years ago when it was still open. It was one of the something like last 40 like all porn theaters in the country, but at that point he just wanted to get rid of it, and as soon as it stopped making money, he sold it. But it hung in there for a while, so that was fun to see.
It's amazing that when did it close up? Do you think?
It was probably 2012 or 2013.
Wow, that is shocking. The advent of the internet.
He said in a previous interview, I don't even care about it anymore. It's just old guys that can't figure out the internet coming in.
The porn theater in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was still in operation through around that time, closed around the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was just fun seeing all these different theaters and how they've changed since then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Andrew, was there anything you wanted to talk about before we wrap this up?
Well, I guess mentioning Mink Stole, you got to mention that Mary Vivian Pierce has a speaking role. I think she just had a stroke or a brain surgery or something like that. But she's hitting Melanie Griffith for real with like jujubes.
I love that. That's the scene where they went in and hijacked a Patch Adams director's cut screening, and everyone's crying, and they come out. I wouldn't pay to watch your movies. They're garbage, and then they're all pelting. Yeah,
I walked out of your movie on an airplane.
That was the best.
Yeah, but Mary Vivian Pierce, it definitely looks. In the last few films, I couldn't point her out at all, but she has for an extra an awful lot of screen time.
Yeah, and Susan Lowe right beside her too, saying it had a bunch of lines right there.
Yeah,
it was great. It reminded me of in Multiple Maniacs, where they get to play the neighborhood people, gasping and commenting at the freak show.
Right. Yeah.
And I think Channing Wilroy, I don't remember who he played, but I remember seeing his name in the credits too. Pretty cool that he got so many of the Dreamlanders in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun watching that. Mink Stole had a really good scene with the kid, as we said, but yeah, it was nice seeing them in there, because I know right before this, Mary Vivian Pierce had been in the hospital.
I was just going to mention the makeup on Honey Whitlock and the makeup on Cherish at different points, very reminiscent of stuff of Divine.
Yeah. I
big
thought
time.
that too as soon as I saw it. Mm-hmm.
Female trouble.
Especially with the really big blocked out bright eyeshadow and the really exaggerated drawn on eyebrows. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as I said, lots of callbacks, lots of callbacks. So let's go ahead
but that's what it is. It feels like callbacks, not like a genuine John Waters film. That's what it is to me. It feels like I'm referencing other John Waters films, but it doesn't feel like John Waters.
Well, like Andrew had discussed in the last episode, we'll reiterate here is John Waters now is kind of contending with the fact that he's more of a public figure than he is a working artist as he once was. And I think there's an expectation for certain films to feel a certain way as opposed to him being able to branch out and do something different, you know. And in the book, Make Trouble, which I feel like I'm pitching tonight, I'm hawking and pitching tonight, I'm shilling for John Waters. He makes reference to the fact that the only really truly devious film he ever made was Hairspray. And everything else kind of was trying to be devious. It was speaking to the converted already. And the reasoning for Hairspray, as we had discussed before, is because he was telling the masses interracial sex and couples are okay. So he feels that's the only truly devious film he ever made. And I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, in 2017, it kind of is. Things have kind of spun back around. So
Right. So anyways, let's go ahead and we'll wrap this up. We'll go down the line. And I'd like, obviously, this is where we go yay or nay. We recommend you guys to watch this and give our final thoughts on the film. And Amanda, seems how you're right next to me and I'm staring right at you. We're nose to nose. Yay or nay on this one, and give your final thoughts.
I give it a reluctant yay. I think you should watch it. I think there are some good things in it, but I wouldn't use this as the benchmark for John Waters.
This should be deep John Waters viewing.
This is not, for me, this would not be the benchmark film for what John Waters' artistic style and is.
Okay. Angelique.
Amanda took the words right out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a very reluctant yay. You know, watch it. It's part of his catalog. You know, absolutely give it a try, but not one of my favorites. And like I said, not one that I get the craving to watch like I do the other ones.
Where would you two place this?
Oof, way low, way
What do you
low.
think? Seeing how we haven't seen Dirty Shame yet, would this be the worst?
For me, yeah.
Angelique?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Seth?
I'm with the ladies here, man. Reluctant yay. I enjoyed watching it. You know, I had a fun time, but just it wasn't, you know, something I was in love with, and I would put it at the bottom. But again, I had fun watching it. So,
whoa, this is getting rather depressing here, Andrew.
I just love it. You know, I feel like, God, as an underground filmmaker here in Athens, what I wouldn't give to just have a giant warehouse like that with my whole crew in there and those wonderful sets that he has. I mean, it's awesome. That would be paradise for me. So whenever I think of Cecil B. Demented, I just think of how idealized the filmmaking scenario is, except, you know, I don't have that whole, you know, the what I guess might even be considered like hipster or extreme now. You know, everybody just with low budget filmmaking, it's such a badge of honor and wear it on your sleeve, and everybody's just trying to out hardcore each other. Even though Cecil says, you know, you've co-opted our sex and violence, which is absolutely true. This was out before Hostel was, which you know could arguably say was the final thing, because once you had extreme gore in multiplexes, it was over for the low budget filmmaker. I mean, look at what they're doing now. They're, you know, vomiting on babies and stuff. What are they trying to do to stay relevant or stay, you know, but it's done. But we'll talk about it more in the final episode of whether or not John Waters really had anything to say in the latter part of his career, if he was really just trying to find his way out of filmmaking and settle into who he is now. But I think that Cecil B. Demented is a movie ahead of its time, and I would love to see some of today's no budget people look at this and laugh and go, that's not us though, right? Actually, motherfucker, it is. And also, there are 2 black characters in this film. big thing for John Waters. It's not something that he always has. So I thought that was coming back on it. I was like, well, that's pretty great. Because, I have noticed for the most part, he makes very white movies. And so even though with the stupid hip hop songs aside, they are part of the group. They do have screen time. And, like Seth said, with that shotgun, microphones, it's a great idea. So, I have to say it's remarkable for that if you don't want to say anything else good about it.
Yeah. And it's speaking to that, it all of a sudden just popped into my head. This, I think, is the first time in all of John Waters' movies where I think a gay character is played for laughs. I think Mike Shannon's character at the end, the epic conclusion where they wrap the film, and because they've been saving themselves and being celibate for making film for art, they all have this huge orgy on top of this building while the cops are attempting to take them out and whatnot. And Mike Shannon's character calls on a man to come up and start blowing him, and all of a sudden we get reaction shots from a bunch of cops wincing. And I think this is the first time in any of his movies where he kind of plays the normal preconceived notion of homosexuality for laughs. Like in normal movies, that's how they're always portrayed. Mm-hmm. It's like, ooh, gross. Isn't that gross?
Well, but they are being represented, though, in that whole order.
It is being represented, but at the same time, I found that to be very odd.
It is
in
unusual.
A John Waters movie.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's in the 90s, you got to remember, it's like, that was like pretty much the boom of queer cinema. A lot of that stuff was just sort of like, it was about just like making the viewer deal with the realities of that. But
like Greg Araki and filmmakers such as that, stuff so like that.
To stay relevant in yet another decade, he was really just kind of throwing it out there,
Right. So I'm very reluctant to tell my listeners that this is probably my least favorite John Waters film, because I still like this movie. Let's speak in relative terms to the rest of his filmography. Right. This is probably the lowest on of his films.
For you.
For me, mostly just due to style, due to content, due to spirit, due to the jokes, the characters. I like this movie. I think it's really fun. I think it does take, not to just regurgitate what I had said before, I do think this is a movie that warrants multiple views. I think the style is so brash and so in your face that it can be off-putting. But I think if you watch it multiple times and with John Waters' filmography in your mind, not just taking it at face value, there's a lot to sift through in this movie. And there's a lot more to it than just an in-your-face fuck you of a movie, which it is to a certain extent. That's why I feel it feels so close to his earlier films, because it does feel like there's a little bit of John Waters anarchic spirit in there, a little. A little, but it's funny that he would talk about Hollywood co-opting the underground when this is such a Hollywood feeling movie. So I would recommend it wholeheartedly as a John Waters fan, but I would go in with my expectations a little low, just because it does feel so different off the bat, and it doesn't really open itself up to a full John Waters movie till probably, I would almost say, halfway through. So it's unfortunate to say it like that, but it's the truth. As I said in the beginning, this was a movie that when it first came out, I didn't get. And when I watched it again a couple weeks ago, I still didn't get it. And then I'm like, there's something here, and I want to see what it is. And by today, after watching a few more times, I actually like this movie. I'm kind of shocked because the style is so damn off-putting.
Well, I wonder.
Damn.
I wonder if he on purpose sort of did that because it was getting so close to his real story that if he was to put John Waters movie type music in there, it would seem like he was maybe trying to tell that story as opposed to this story.
I think it was an intentional decision.
Yeah, I think so. But I think we're kind of candy coating things by saying it like that. I think it's more along the lines of the soundtrack felt like it was manufactured for selling a soundtrack as opposed to
putting emotion.
A cohesive movie. Yeah. Well, there was emotion. I mean, I kind of liked the Locust song, to be honest, in there, because how often do you hear grindcore or death metal in a movie, a Hollywood movie? Almost never.
Well, it's why Scream doesn't do it for me anymore, because it is so squeaky clean and polished, and it's just not my favorite Wes Craven style. You know, I'll take Elm Street or Hills Have Eyes or the Last House on the Left. It just seems, you know, that edge is kind of gone because of how squeaky it all looked.
Oh, and just dated as well. I think a lot of movies of that era, the mid to late 90s through the mid 2000s, just are very dated now.
Yeah, it's going to be what all the HD stuff it'll be like in the future. We're going to be like, God, why did everyone, you know?
Yeah. I think we're already kind of seeing that. So, All right, folks, we have one more episode to go. Kind of bittersweet. But next month, you'll be listening to our last John Waters episode, A Dirty Shame. And it's a dirty shame that's the last episode. I mean, we said we're going to do kind of a bonus episode with Lust in the Dust.
Yeah.
But that's not a John Waters film. So the proper and conclusion to the series will come next month with A Dirty Shame. So thank you, listeners. And of course, as always, as I say, thank you guys for doing this. I love that we did this. I say this every episode because I genuinely mean it, because it's been wonderful to go through these movies and watch them with a new set of eyes. John Waters is an important director, and I think anybody that listens to my show should be taking this journey with us and should be watching these flicks. They're totally worthwhile. So let's go to this portion of the show where we shamelessly shill the fuck out of you. Mr. Seth Paulin, shill.
Oh, you guys can find all sorts of horror, cult, and exploitation film reviews at celluloidterror.com and Celluloid Terror on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Miss Angelique Bone, shill your ass off.
Oh, yeah, that's a tall order. No, you can find me on another one of the Astro Radio Z family of podcasts via Film Jerks. We just had our last episode come up on Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Give us a listen. It's more of a family-friendly show. Definitely not John Waters caliber. And also you can find some reviews from myself and some funny cats on thelosthighway.com, and keep an eye out soon for Raggin' Reviews. Once a month, I'm going to be reviewing a female-driven film where a badass lady takes out some scumbags.
Love it. I love this idea. I can't wait. Last but not least, Mr. Andrew Shearer, shill your ass off and don't fuck it up.
Oh, no pressure. Thank you, everybody. I love doing these with you guys. I love hearing the stuff that you guys say. And this has been, as a John Waters fan, one of the coolest things that's ever happened, getting to watch them in order like this and talk about them. It's been spectacular. My friends and I in Athens, Georgia here model ourselves a little bit after Dreamland Players. We make underground movies together under the banner of Gonzorific, Gonzo. RIFFIC. And if you want to buy DVDs, they're out there at gonzorific.com. If you want to watch the videos on YouTube, we got a channel there. And if you want to watch some of the stuff on Amazon Prime or Amazon On Demand, we have a bunch of movies on Prime. I think May of the Dead and Very Scary. And then for Amazon On Demand, we have a lot of them, including the newest ones, Late Night Cable and the Underground Cinema with an S. And I am putting the finishing touches on the new one. I think we're going to call it Space Boobs in Space.
Love it. Now I have to ask you, because we are talking about Cecil B. Demented tonight. Did you get the title for your underground cinema from this movie?
Yeah, from Cherish's T-shirt, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. That's what I thought. I figured as much. So, anyways, all right, folks, that's it. Until next week, when we're going to be talking about the first listener voted shot on video film, The Burning Moon. Oh shit. Until then,
Demented forever.
Do not
Demented forever.